Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite Dark Sorcerer here. And tonight I'm going to be replying to a fan of mine. Okay. And this is going out to Nathan B. Alex. Okay. Or actually, no, that's not the person I'm looking to do this to. It's actually John. I'm probably gonna butcher his last name, but it's Utzeli. Okay, Utzeli. Okay. And tonight, I'm going to reply to his comment because his question and the way he put it forth was very unique. He said, "You mentioned in one of your videos that Lucifer and Satan are not the same. One of them stood at the foot of my bed as a child. He had horns and a tail, was about 6 feet, very muscular, and a very deep voice. Which one was it? Any insight would be greatly appreciated." Okay. So to answer your first question, or I should say the statement, John, in the old texts compared to the biblical context as they are known today. Hey Shelley, a lot of individuals today go by the Luciferian perspective, okay, or the biblical standpoint of if you're not of their God, you're of Satan. Therefore, they're all one being, okay? This is not true. Anybody who ever does their own homework into these entities will tell you exactly who they are and what they're about. You consider that delving into the mythos and the history of Satan, for an example. Satan is a Grigori, a watcher angel. He is known as the chief of the Order of Virtues, okay? Basically, his job is to watch over humanity and report the sins or the activity, okay? He holds the office in the rank of chief, a chieftain, okay? A spiritual advisor, so to speak. And what's ironic about this is that when we get into the texts, the oldest known spelling of Satan comes from the Munich manuscript, which shows him as Sathan, Sathan, okay? Whereas modern day Islam or modern day mainstream JCI would pronounce him as Satan or Shaitan, okay? El Shaitan. In Hebrew, his name is pronounced Ha Satan, okay? Meaning adversary, accuser, the adversary complex to their God, okay? In the Luciferian context today, Satan and Lucifer, if you go by Michael W. Ford, is the dark and lighter side of the same coin. He views them more as a mask to be worn during certain rites and rituals than an actual entity. Okay? I do not support that context. I really don't. My personal experience with both of these entities has proven to be beyond mind-blowing and astonishing. When I was 5 years old, Lucifer came to me out of the blue. I had never watched TV, never read books, never went to church. Never had anybody tell me anything about Satan or Lucifer. And I went to my mother and I asked her, I said, "Who is Lucifer?" She looked at me and asked me, "Who told me about this entity?" I said, "He did. He appeared to me." as a bright white light. Years later, when I got into Satanism, I started working with Satan. When I was in Tucson, South Tucson, it was Satan who came to me, not Jehovah, not Lucifer, not Jesus of Nazareth. No, it was Satan. All those years ago, it was Lucifer that came to me. They appeared to me. Okay? Two different entities. Satan can be found in the poetical texts. Okay? This is where the 3-day journey into the underworld after the crucifixion takes place, where Beelzebub, the second in command of the underworld, was dethroned and Satan was placed on the throne. Okay? You go back even further to the Codex Gigas, known as the Devil's Bible. Satan is one of the main figures of the underworld. If you follow grimoire traditions, he is known as the ruler and creator of witches and warlocks. Okay? Now, Lucifer, on the other hand, Lucifer is pulled from various different traditions. The Greek day star, known as Phosphoros. Okay? Even my own research into this aspect rung true. Asenath Mason really hit the head of the nail with a hammer. Okay? On top of that, in Isaiah 14:12, it states that Lucifer was cast out. Okay, basically, it doesn't say he was cast out. It says, and I quote, and a lot of Christians get this wrong, by the way. They say he was thrown out, he was cast out. But if they actually read the scripture, it says, how thou hast fallen, Lucifer, son of the morning. Okay? And it went down from verse 12 to verse 15 and explained that he wanted to build his throne above the heavens. Okay, basically meaning he was looking to become his own god, enlighten himself to the point of self-apotheosis. Okay, it wasn't that he was trying to take over heaven. It was not the fact that he was trying to take over anything or dethrone anyone. But if you get into, say, for example, the Quran, we have a bliss. A bliss, instead of being cast out, or say, for example, to bow down to a man of clay, which is basically what the story and the mythos goes, is that angels were put slightly lower than mankind, at least until they were cast out of the garden. And then they were cast out just underneath the angels. But they were asked to bow in front of mankind. They were bound. They were asked to bow to a man of clay. A bliss would not. He simply asked the question, why should I bow down? Why should I bow down? Are we not all your creation? Why can't we be equals? But he chose to leave Allah's kingdom and create his own, the realm of the jinn, a place where Yahweh, Yazad, Ayah, Allah cannot peer into, the realm of chaos, the realm of shadows, where he has no rule, no say in what goes on there. According to the Jews, the Jewish texts, such as the Jewish Haggadah, the Talmud, even, the uprising or the political upheaval that took place, all those were led into dissension, like in that of the book of Enoch, chapter 10 through 18. You see where the watchers huddled together and they made a pact with a much older angel, Shemyaza. Now, Shemyaza is a whole nother story because he was associated with the prince of the underworld, a demon known as Yukon. Okay? But like I said, that's another story. But the fact is that one angel, Azazel, okay, they looked down upon the earth and saw the daughters of men, and they took wives unto themselves, and they produced the Nephilim. Okay? This is how the book of Enoch speaks. The Jewish Haggadah tells a huge amount of this story, especially that of the scapegoat variation. Okay? Satan and Lucifer are not the same. There are two different classes of angels, okay, of celestial beings. One is an archangel. Supposedly was cast out due to prideful limitations. The Catholics associated Lucifer with the sin or the cardinal sin known as pride because he was prideful. He didn't want to bow down. Instead, he asked, why? Why? That was his greatest sin. Why? Get the hell out of my kingdom. But guess what? He created his own. In the Grimoire systems, from the Grand Grimoire all the way up through, he's known as an emperor. Unless you get into Levian Satanism, and then he becomes known as a prince. Ironically, how can you be an emperor and then be a prince at the same exact time? You see, there was a lot of contradictions in that area as well, of the Levian Satanism. But hey, they don't believe in an actual devil. Shh. My point is this. When you get into any of these scriptures, any different text going back over 2,000 years, you're going to see a layover or a crossover of information from various different religions. Look at, when we look at the devil aspects of this, we can go with Set or Seth in Egyptian, the god of chaos and storms. Go into Greek and you have Hermes or Hades. Go into Norse mythology and you got Loki. Another variation of the image of the very devil, the very Satan that the Christians go by, is that of the Greek god Pan, half goat, half human. Hey, Holly. Welcome to the channel. But Lucifer, he is not, he has a smaller, literally a smaller amount of information out there. Most of the context that you will find when you look at any adversarial doctrine worldwide. Look at Slavic, for an example. You have Belobog versus Chernobog. Okay, the dark god. Look at Zoroastrianism, and you have Ahura Mazda versus Orion. Go into the Necronomicon, and you have Marduk versus Tiamat. Okay, go into Christianity. I mean, you go all the way back into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you're going to see different names. The scroll of Amram has Belial, who is ironically today, according to the Goetic, the Goetia from the Solomonic text, is a king, one of the 9 kings of the Goetia. Okay, but yet here we see him as the leader of the sons and daughters of darkness versus Michael, the archangel. Okay, who is the leader of the sons and daughters of light. Now, there's no mention here of a god or a devil figure. No, just 2 warring factions. The same with when you read that of the Zoroastrianism texts. Hey, Elkalon, welcome to the video. When we go into various other systems, you're going to see the same thing. Inti versus Supe in Inca. Okay, it's that duality factor. It's like a lot of the texts out there today and a lot of the systems want to clump everything together. It's, you take Bulg for an example today. They're getting into herbalism. They're getting into, what's that term of that video? That latest thing that they did on, oh, right, slut water. Yeah, it's like, who the hell comes up with that, right? I mean, there was a thing of holy water, or there was a thing of unholy baptism, stuff like that that's been mentioned throughout the eons. You know, but when it comes to deities, when it comes to angels, you really have to delve into the mythos. You look at Samael for an example. Okay, it's known as the Venom. Supposedly, this is Lucifer's old name. Okay, my personal my personal history of researching, communing with the spirit, I can tell you, even those two are 2 different entities. Lucifer is his own demon, his own devil. Satan is his own figure. Samael, Azazel, their own figures. Stop trying to put them into the same encampment, especially if you have not studied these ancient texts, these ancient scrolls, the Grimoire systems, or go into other regions worldwide to see their names, to see where this information comes from, how it's been corrupted and utilized for a male dominated religion, such as the JCI. This is a system that people put stock in. They choose to believe a lie while handing hundreds of thousands of their own dollars over to a church that is corrupt. It's a business only wanting this, the green. That's it. It has nothing to do with redemption. It has nothing to do with the spirits. They do it for show, plain and simple. Lucifer and Satan are 2 different entities. Delve into these systems that I've mentioned here today. Get into the scrolls, such as, say, for example, the Book of Tobit. You have Raphael versus Asmodeus or Asmodee. There's another one, the Talmud, Munich Handbook, the Jewish Haggadah, the Dead Sea Scrolls, specifically the Scroll of Amram. I guarantee it, you will have a better understanding once you've read these texts. Get into the poetical texts, and you will see exactly the things that the church does not want you to know. Get into them, and you will see the lies and the corruptions of what's out there today. And you'll have a much better understanding of these two entities. Okay? Now, to the later half of your question, you said one of these entities stood at the foot of your bed, horns and a tail, was about 6 foot, very muscular, and had a deep voice. Well, that, depending on who you choose to follow and choose to look at, you can go into Hollywood propaganda, say season 4 of the TV show Lucifer. Would Lucifer be classified in that image? His little transformation in there? That's if you want to believe that. Or how about that of Mephistopheles from Xena, the warrior princess? Same imagery. You see, that's Hollywood produced propaganda. Greek mythology, a horned figure, half man, half goat, Pan, god of fertility and nature. Sexuality at its best. The masculine. Greek pantheon. Is it Lucifer? No. He's an angel of light, right? But he's considered to be a devil, the emperor and ruler of hell. I can tell you that his voice in my communion has been soft, childlike. Satan is more confident, more, one doesn't want to say condescending, it's more of spoken with authority. But a deep voice? No. More like a man's voice, really. That's my point, John, right there. It comes down to your perception of who this entity is. You have to look at all the figures. One of the best things I can tell you is to get a dictionary by the name of The Dictionary of Demons by Michelle Belanger. Cross-reference this with the Encyclopedia of Demons and Demonolatry by Rosemary Ann Gully. Go through all the texts, see how they're reviewed. You consider Beelzebub was seen as a giant fly. Dagon had a whale's head, the arms and torso of a human, but yet the body of a serpent. This is actually spoken of in Chaldean mythology. Okay? And Dagon, for an example, gave birth to Baal, which in Canaanite means Lord. Even in Hebrew, his name means Lord. But you have to look at the imagery. You have to look at the way they present themselves and what they speak to you. It may be just a simple visual, but it's up to you to interpret that aspect. And that's my point on this. Look at every aspect of it that you can recall, write it down. Everything that you can remember, everything that you can recall, and then invoke one of these spirits. Say, I would recommend working with Lucifer for no more than 1 month. No less than 1 month, I should say. Build up that relationship with him, commune with him, see how he presents himself to you, and then turn around and do the same thing with Satan. See how he presents himself to you. How does he speak? Everything, every one of these beings, in my experience with them, comes at you in different ways, unique ways. Some speak with authority, others speak with a condescending nature. Others look at you as a child. Others try to ignite that infernal black flame within you. I can tell you that my personal experience with Lucifer when I was 5, he didn't speak. He just appeared in front of me. It's something that I never forgot. But it wasn't until I was 11 that I began to understand. He was preparing me for what was to come. So go over your experience with this entity. Write down every detail. Meditate on it. Create that image in your mind's eye. Invoke that spirit. Invite that spirit to come back to you, to present itself to you now. In this case, open up your inner sanctum to him. What did he say before? See if you will repeat that so that you can understand it. In this case, this is a great way to kick off a path as, say, for an example, a demonator. Perhaps you might want to get into Satanism and see where these spirits can lead you. There are many paths that you can choose, even path of a necromancer. Let the spirit guide you. Let it present itself to you over time. That's my advice to you, John. See where it leads you. But the big thing here is to understand that these two beings are separate. They are two different people. Said what? I'm still here? Hmm. Sounds like he's playing with you. Think of a lot of times when a demon or a devil appears to a child, it is more of a children's game, kind of like peekaboo. Other times it's more of a factor of it wants you to use your imagination to figure something out, to guide you, perhaps leading you into a path of sorcery of some sort. Why are you underneath my feet? Go on. My point is, they leave an impression. Trust me, I know. But you got to be the one to figure it out. What was it about that instance? Why did it show itself to you? How did it make you feel? What was the demeanor towards you? Was it something of a parent to a child, or was it a teacher to an apprentice? That's what you got to figure out. I'm still here can mean a lot of things. Was that location, was that being, say, for an example, tied to that location? How many generations grew up in that home? Were your parents the first to have that home? What's the history of the ground surrounding that home? And why, out of everybody in your household, why did that being appear to you? That's the thing you got to figure out. Because a lot of times you're going to find that demons are bound to a certain location, or they are there to incorporate you into their cause. Sometimes they're there to guide you and to protect you for something, about something, or from something. Other times they're there just to teach you. Or perhaps it was one of those rare occasions where they want to just spend some time with you. So, there we go. That's something you got to figure out. Because, like I said, I'm still here. That's kind of an odd statement. Hmm. One of the most direct, in this case, because there's not much to go on, I would tell you and recommend that you invoke this spirit, summon it, bring it into your inner sanctum, invite it in, ask it what it wanted, ask it to come forth in front of you and to manifest itself so you can see it, hear it, communicate with it. Perhaps even give an offering or a sacrifice, maybe both. Entice it to come forth. And then from there, try building up a relationship with this spirit. Over time, it will release its knowledge, its restrictions upon you. Over time, it will share its wisdom and knowledge and open up to you. That's what I would recommend to you firsthand. I know I've had spirits that did this personally, not in your way, but like I said, Lucifer just simply appeared to me out of the blue. I was 5 years old, didn't have much religious context behind it. But it wasn't until I built a rapport with this spirit, made a pact with it, started building up that relationship with Lucifer himself. When I did my research into him and I found out who he was and I started questioning, hell, I even went to church, a Baptist church, and questioned a minister who was teaching this. I questioned that teacher. Sunday school, the one and only time I went. And I can tell you that I opened up a lot of eyes there amongst the youth. They were a little older than me at that time. I think I was 7 or 8, I think, at that time. It was just a few years later. Yeah, I want to say I was closer to 8 years old because I noticed my friends getting into this van and they'd come back a couple hours later. So I ended up going one Sunday. Turned out it was Sunday school, but still, I dared to question. I dared to ask the questions. I kept asking why. How do you know? You see, it's that general curiosity. See, that's what Lucifer bestowed in me. I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to do my research into him. I wanted to get to know him. Why did he choose me out of everybody in this world? Okay. This is the questions I had. But when I made that pact and I started delving into the mythos and the history, getting into the magical religious philosophies, started invoking him, evoking him, summoning him, conjuring him, working with him, and making that blood pact with him. That's when things really got interesting for me. And it opened up a lot of other avenues. And I'm telling you, I was tested, I was tried. I spent 20 years traveling back and forth across this country. And I can tell you firsthand, a lot of shit went down that I have never spoken of. But I came out stronger, better, more knowledgeable. And I can tell you, Christians really hate me before it. They've never met anyone like me because I know the knowledge. I have the knowledge and I have the wisdom because I walked by faith, not by sight. By the way, that's 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. Just to let you know. You see, even in the Bible, it says there are many antichrists, and the devil can speak the Bible just as well as anyone else. Now, I'm not a devil, obviously. I'm just a sorcerer. But I speak the Bible better than they do. And I know it better than they do, and they hate it with a passion because I call them out on their bullshit. See, Lucifer taught me many things, one of which was to always question, never accept things at face value. And I'm glad I listened. This spirit has some form of intention for you. The question is, what is that intent? What is your purpose or its purpose for you? That's what you got to figure out. But I wanted to take the time to drop this video because you obviously have put a lot of thought into this one being, this one entity, and the way you wrote it on my video, okay, and underneath the comments really spoke to this. You put a lot of cognitive thought into it. It's something that has been on your mind, on the forefront of your mind for years. You inquired about it and got nowhere. Well, now you're getting insight into various different things. Number one, you just learned where you can look to learn about Satan and Lucifer. Number two, dealing with this spirit, what you need to do with it, to learn from it. Okay? When spirits like this come to you, and I want to put this out there for everybody, when a spirit chooses you, it's best to listen. It's best to pay attention and be observant. There's a reason why they've tapped you on that shoulder, that proverbial shoulder. In this case, I believe the Spirit has something in mind for you, John, just like Lucifer did for me. The question is, what is your journey going to be like? Is it going to be like mine? Perhaps like Alkalone or Holly or even Shelley? Who knows? But you got to let them lead you. You got to let them guide you. You got to have faith in them. And you definitely got to have that trust. I've had spirits tear my entire world to shreds. I've lived on the streets in 2 different cities. But the way they built my world back up with me, the way they walked beside me, to quote the 21 satanic points, build not upon sand, but upon rock. Build not for today or yesterday, but build for all time. This is what these demons do. These are what demons do. Think of the tarot card, the major arcana, the tower. For something to be created, something else has to be destroyed. Abaddon does this like no other that I have experienced. He can tear your world apart like somebody dropped a nuke right in the middle of your lap, the middle of your world, and just, but he'll turn around and rebuild it better, stronger, more fortified. And you'll be better off than you ever thought or imagined it would be. Have faith in them. And I guarantee it, you will thrive. Not everything is going to be upfront in your face. Sometimes a cryptic message like, I'm still here, or simply that visual acuity leads in a impressionable image, an impression that leaves you with a thirst and a hunger to know more. And sometimes it's that one crumb that's all that is needed for your journey to begin. You're welcome, John. I'm glad I could help you, or at least guide you, and to clear some things up. For now, have a good night, and until next time, I'm out.